Good evening. My name is Kwabena. Welcome. I want to share with you today or tonight what I call learn to negotiate, learn to sell. Learn to negotiate, learn to sell. Have you been in a situation or have you seen somebody who was misunderstood? There was a disagreement, maybe at the workplace, maybe in school where you had a particular position, maybe your manager presented to you and you felt like you were misunderstood. You felt like you were being looked down upon or being cheated or being made a scapegoat. And usually when people don't have the ability to communicate, to have the ability to negotiate their position, the ability to sell what is in their mind, they get emotional, and people get angry. Usually if they are men, they get angry, or if they are women, they cry, especially the young women, because they feel like they are being misunderstood, because they are not able to communicate what is in their mind, what is in their heart to the colleague who they feel should understand them. And it's coming from their inability to let their position be heard or let their position be felt. And life, it's all about being able to communicate, being able to negotiate your position, being able to sell your ideas. Everyone you see who is successful in anything, whether it's a business, whether it's politics, whether it's marriage, whatever it is, they had to sell their concept, they had to sell their ideas, they had to sell their philosophy, they had to let somebody buy into their position so that they could get along with people to achieve a certain goal or the mission. And so if you're weak in your ability to present your position, in your ability to negotiate, in your ability to sell, there is not much that you're going to achieve in this life, because every human that you want to be on your side, the best employee that you want to stay in your business, the colleague that you want to partner with you, the project that you want to finish, or the people that are involved, you would have to have the skill to negotiate. You would tell your ideas. You would have to have your skill to bargain. You would have to have the skill to communicate your ideas. And this is one of the skills that maybe the school did not see as important, or maybe the family did not see as important. And so most people who are shy, most people who are calm, or even people who are elaborate, they are elaborate, but they may not have seen the importance of them being able to learn the skills to sell their ideas, to sell their positions, to sell their concept, even to sell their business to another person to be on their side. Because it's not something that just happens. It's something that we all have to learn how to present our position for us to be understood. And so most often, the people who are not skilled in this, we tend to get angry over something that we think that somebody has misrepresented us. They have put something that was not in our position on us, and instead of us being able to present our case, we get angry, we fight, we insult, because we don't have the ability to sell, to present our position, to bargain, to negotiate with people, to convince people, because we did not study that as something that was important. So I'm talking to you about learn to negotiate and learn to sell. And it's not just the selling as in people going to the market to sell, even though that is all. The ability to negotiate is the ability to convince people to buy the product that you're selling on the market. If you take a product to people's offices, you would have to convince them why they should buy that product from you. Those are skills. and those will probably be represented in just the selling as a business, so to say. But I'm talking of not just learning how to sell a product, not just learning how to sell a computer or a car or a shirt, or maybe you are into retail business. Not just that, but the ability to know the importance of you selling to get to your goals, selling your ideas, your philosophies, your product, your concept, your project, to let somebody else become part of that, or to let somebody else make a decision to favor you. You know, so if you had to talk to somebody to maybe lend you money to do a certain project, you had to talk for the person to believe in what you were saying, and for the person to be on board with you, and for you to get to your goals. If there is a bad situation that you have to just renegotiate on a business, on a supply, on a credit, something, you still have to have this skill to negotiate, to talk to people, to convince people, to be able to present what is in your mind to people convincingly, so that you can get what you want. This is a skill. It's a skill which is as important as any other skill. And you know, most skills that are very much important in this life are the very skills that are looked down upon. Skills that will help people to reach their goals. Skills that will help people to become the best of their dreams. The best that are hardly consciously taught in any institution, whether it's in the family, whether it's in the school, or maybe even if it's in the culture or in religious institutions. Negotiation, learning to sell, learning to convince people, learning to bargain, learning to, you know, go back and fight and present your position. It's not something that you can just overlook. When everything else does not work, can you go back to talk to the people? Can you go back when there's a failure to say that it didn't work? Can you go back to make some amendments? Even if the woman that you marry, or the one who became your girlfriend, you had to say something for her to accept and for her to believe. You know, maybe even your child, you would have to say something to let them sit down when they are making noise and somebody is around. So negotiation is in every aspect of life. The bank credit that did not work, you may have to go to the bank and say that this one did not work. The supplier who was on a project that you gave the things to, and who supply you some things, and those did not work, and who called you and, you know, they are angry, they are insulting you. It will take a skill for you to keep that relationship, for you to be able to calm that person down, for you to be able to talk to that person, for them to feel like you know what you're doing. Usually when we are not experienced, when we are not skilled in selling our position, selling our ideas, selling our product, when you are not skilled in negotiating, in convincing people, if they say something that we so much don't like, if they say something that we feel hurt, you know, we don't want to be part of with those people. We don't want to agree with them. We feel like they have disrespected us. We feel like we've been misunderstood. Why? Because we don't know, or we have not consciously learned how to negotiate and how to sell our ideas, how to convince people, you know, to be part of something. And so I'm talking about how much these skills, negotiation, selling, convincing people, how much they are important to you getting to your goals. Even those in academia, if you want to become the vice president of the university, or if you want to become a professor, you would have to go and convince some people, talk to some people. Things will not just come to you. Things will not just come to favor you just because you're a good person. A lot of the things that happen to good people in this life, a lot of things that people get, is because they had to learn how to negotiate with people, convince people, tell them why they were the one that they had to invest in, tell them why they were the one that they had to partner, tell them they were the one that they had to give the credit. These are things that you learn consciously. These are things that you develop You don't just say that it will happen. If they believe in me, it will come. Some people believe that once they have a good idea, that good idea will become a very successful business. Or some people say that once they are passionate about the business, the money will come. If it's a good idea, they will succeed. Not necessarily. If you don't know how to negotiate, convince people, sell your ideas, promote your things, it will not work. You may have the best of ideas, the best of business, the best of everything, the best of product, and people will not want to be part of it because you have not been able to present the idea so that people will see the benefit of your idea, of your business. So entrepreneurship, life in general, calls for, if you want to succeed at anything, calls for you being able to negotiate with people, calls for me being able to learn how to sell my position, sell my ideas, sell my product, sell my personality to people to buy, and convince people, bargain with people. Sometimes things don't work as we expected them to work. Are we able to go back to say that this does not work? And would you be able to put your ego somewhere? And even if they look down upon you, even if they think that you are idiot, even if they think that you're stupid, you've been bad, even if they, whatever they think, can you still look at it and say that, yes, I messed it up and I would want to correct the situation? Are you that kind of person? So usually when we get angry, it just shows that we don't know how to negotiate, we don't know how to sell. Consistent anger, consistent crying, consistent pain. You are a manager in a company. They set a target for you. You did not meet the target. They query you, or they call you to come and report, and then you flip. You get angry. You start to become, whatever we do, you are not happy with it. When you're successful, you don't even thank us. Anytime that something goes wrong, you come and reprimand us. You come and say all the negative things. If you're a manager and you present your case that way, it means you don't know how to sell your position. It means that you don't know how to communicate. It means that you don't know how to convince people. It means that you don't know how to sell your position and your ideas. So you get angry in a way just to frighten people and not to let people come to talk to you. Or you get angry and you act like you are pain and you've been victimized. Those things, and they are rampant among people who have not learned how to sell their ideas, promote themselves, and convince people. And so I'm talking about this. Entrepreneurship is about convincing people. It's about negotiating. It's about selling your ideas, selling your products, selling your personality, selling your service. Same as with anything that you set for yourself, any goal that you set for yourself. You would have to convince people, you would have to negotiate along somewhere, you would have to sell the idea, you would have to put up with some things that you are not comfortable with, you would have to just present your position strongly, you would have to sell some products, some services between you and getting to the goals. And sometimes you just have to put the ego somewhere and present your case. And so if you're the kind who will just become angry, you see two people on the road who hit each other in a car. When people lack the ability to convince and sell their positions and communicate, when they get out, you see that their voices, they are on a high pitch and they are insulting. Because we don't see those things as communication, those things as convincing people. You have hit somebody's car. You get out and you're insulting. No, it means that you don't know how to negotiate. So your anger is up. Your pride is very up because you're unskilled in convincing and in communicating with people. So people who are very unskilled, they are the ones who are angry all the time. Or those who just cry because they were called at the office to be queried, to be questioned. Then you see them crying because they feel like they're being misunderstood. No, it's the laziness that you have that has prevented you from learning how to sell your position, because that is a skill. So probably you learn how to do mathematics, you learn how to produce the product, you learn how to do a very good project, but you didn't learn how to convince people to get on board on the same page with you, to get to realize the agenda, to get to realize the goal, to get to realize the mission that you set for yourself. So learn to negotiate, learn to sell your ideas, learn to promote yourself, learn to convince if you have to. And you have to do that consciously, deliberately. You have to know that it's also a component of life. And maybe it's one of the most important things of life, because success is not going to come to any of us if you're not able to sell ourselves, our ideas, our product, our services. If you don't learn that, if you don't negotiate. Sometimes it's not just negotiating or selling or convincing when things are right, but sometimes when things are very wrong, when things are failing, when the business has not worked, are you the one who will be able to stay and talk to everybody who is involved? Let them be patient with you and give them confidence that you can get back up and fix this. Are you that kind of person? Or you be that who will be sad, who will be weak, who will be demoralized, so to say, because you have not learned how to sell, you have not learned how to convince people, you have not learned how to bargain, you have not learned how to sell your ideas. So every one of us is in some kind of selling, negotiating all the time, all aspects of life, whether it's family, whether it's business, whatever that we are involved in, something that we are always negotiating. Always. You're negotiating with your wife all the time, you're negotiating with your husband all the time, you're negotiating with your children, with your friends, with your partners, with your suppliers, with your creditors, with your workers. It's always constant negotiation and constant selling, constant convincing of people. Because people have the will to disagree with you. People have the will to stay off your agenda. They have the will not to become part of your vision. And so if you want to become successful, then you would have to learn how to negotiate. Sometimes you are just negotiating. It's not in your favor. Sometimes it's not in your favor. You need somebody to make critical decision for you to succeed, for you to meet to the goal, to get to the goal. And a lot of it calls for skill. A lot of it calls for emotional stability. A lot of it calls for, ego to be down. A lot of it calls for your pride, to be down, because you have to get something to get to that goal, which may be that critical. So they teach us a lot of things in the family, in the school, but they hardly teach us how to negotiate, how to sell our ideas, how to sell our goals, how to sell our product, ourselves, to create wealth and to create money. Because we are not money is a product of negotiation, it's a product of convincing, it's a product of selling, it's a product of bargaining, it's a product where you are trying to sell something to somebody, and that's the benefit you have. And so if our scale is weak, then we are the ones, because most often you need to negotiate, you need to sell your ideas, you need to convince people when things are very difficult. And that's why you have to regather yourself to go and present the situation again. If you didn't see negotiation, selling, convincing as a skill that you needed, and it's just something that you just look at it and gloss over, you will not be the one who is able to do these things consciously and deliberately. You are not the one. You'll be the one being angry or weeping because you cannot swallow your pride. You want to be understood. You can be hurt easily, because you work somewhere, they said that you have come late, go home, and they talk to you anyhow. If you're weak in selling your position, if you're weak in convincing people, if you're weak in communicating, you'll be angry. You'll be angry. You don't want to engage them again. You may even pack your things and go and never come to the work again, even though you needed that job. But because you're weak in that, you let your ego, you let your anger, you let your emotions come above that which you needed to sustain, which you needed to keep. So if you're weak in selling your ideas, if you're weak in presenting your position, if you're weak in communicating, you're talking to the woman, you're talking with a colleague, and you have said something, they did not agree with you, they don't like you, they don't on your side, and it's not that they don't want to be on your side, it's not that they don't want to agree with you, it's that you've not been able to convince them, you've not been able to negotiate, you've not been able to sell the idea to them. So instead of us learning the process, how to convince people, how to negotiate, how to sell our ideas, we would rather get angry, get pissed off, get victimized, and walk off. And that's why it is tough for a lot of people who are not able to sell their ideas, sell their position, convince people, keep at it, keep going. Even if you are turned down 20 times, you still keep back and keep your composure. So you study how to present. Study how to present your ideas. You study how to negotiate with people. And when you're negotiating with people, don't become emotional. Study the thing well. Don't become emotional. Don't become selfish. Don't only look at, also look at what will benefit the other person. Keep the goal in mind. It's benefiting both of you. And so you are working and they question you and they talk to you harshly. Don't just become so much self-focused that you think it becomes. The more selfish you are, the more you exaggerate the bad treatment that you think somebody else has given you. And out of that pain, you don't want to engage the person anymore. And yet that thing will be so much dearly. So you want to keep the job. You want to go for it. You want to go to the next stage in the job. You want to go to the next stage of the business. And you went there and the guy was talking to you anyhow. At that point, no need to be selfish, self-focused, think of yourself and your dignity and respect and how they talk to you badly. No. If you're skilled in negotiation, if you're skilled in selling, if you're skilled in if you're skilled in convincing people, bargaining, you will not let the pain, even though it will be there. Maybe you felt disrespected. You will not let that stop you from getting to the goals, from being able to buy into what you have to get to the goals. So if you're unskilled, you put yourself and you become angry, you become aggressive, or you cry and you feel like they have disrespected you, so you would not want to even talk to them again. Anytime you are exhibiting those things, it means that you don't know how to communicate with people to get to your goals. It means that you don't know how to convince people to buy into your ideas, buy from you. You don't know how to negotiate with people to get to the goals, because you're childish. You're just about yourself. If you're going to get to your goals, there are people that you would have to convince. Some of them you will know deliberately that they hate you. Some of them will not like you. Some of them don't have your best interest at heart. But because of the goal, you will put those things aside, open your eye, and still negotiate, because it's negotiation. It's about the goal. It's about you getting. And so let's say you're on a project, you owe a supplier who is insulting you. Maybe you owe them 100,000 worth of cement, and you still need cement to continue the work. Payment has delayed. If you're egoistic, and the person is saying that, but you said that this is what is going to happen, and it's 2 weeks down the line, you have not done it, and you're still coming back to ask for this, why should I consider you? Now you know that you're not telling lies. Genuinely, the payment has delayed. What do you have to do? Yes, present them the case, show them documents, show them that yes, this has not come. I was expecting it this time, it has not come. But you have a stake in this project. We have to do it. If you face, it will be tougher for us to pay the rest. Yes, I promise, but it did not work. But I still need you to continue the work so that the bulk money will come. You get your position. You become resolute. You become, analytical, factual. Don't just become why are you talking to me anyhow? When you think that I'm stupid, you think that I didn't make they may even insult you. It doesn't matter, because you want to get to the goal to solve a particular situation. You just have to swallow everything that people say to you, because that is life. If you set goals, you would have to know how to sell. You would know how to convince people. You would have to know how to negotiate with people, bargain with people. You took your product to that shop to tell them to take it and sell it for you. You went there, the boys were disrespectful. They were talking to you anyhow. They even looking at the product and said, but this is not the quality that we are expecting. That's not the problem. They're just objecting to something. You just have to study people's behavior, study the situation, and because you went there with your goal to get the product on their shelf, tell them whatever you have to say to get them to accept your product and sell for you. If they turn you down, go back again. Forget about the ego. Because life is about negotiation, life is about convincing people, life is about talking and being on the same page with people. So don't carry the ego that a lot of people have, where they are just demanding respect. All of us is in us. So we demand respect where we don't even need that kind of respect, because you have to just get to the goal. So if you're employed or if you have a business, whatever that you have, don't put the ego so much ahead. when there's a problem that you have to solve. In the family, when there's a disagreement, don't put your ego. Just bow down and see what you can say to get people to be part of the solution, than just creating another problem for you. So every one of us is into some kind of selling. Life is about negotiation. Life is about convincing people every step of the way. You're not God. I am not God. People have their will. You would have to convince people every now and then. Some of them will be your junior, some of them will be your senior, some of them will be your children, some of them will be your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, some of them will be your colleagues, some of them will be the ordinary guy on the street. Every now and then you just have to convince, sell the ideas that you have, talk to people to be on the same page with you to get to the goals that you have to go to. So you don't carry that ego around, demanding unnecessary respect from people and stopping yourself from getting to your goal. So you're in constant negotiations every day with your spouse, with your children, with your parents, with the farmer, with your family, with your customers, with yourself even, to get up out of bed and go and work. So it's all negotiations all the time. And so you might as well learn how to sell, to convince people well, because it's a craft, it's a skill. Just as when you started driving, you didn't know so much about driving, but after 6 weeks, after 7 months, after 1 year, you became a little better. Same with convincing people, same with learning how to present your case, same with learning how to convince people to be on the same page with you. It's a skill. So you have to, between you and your goal, there are a lot of people that you're going to convince. There are a lot of people that you're going to negotiate with. There are a lot of people that you're going to communicate with. If your ego is very high, if you're only self-focused, you will not learn how to convince people. And that's why when they say that this man is proud, nobody wants to help them. Why? Because people have the power to say that no or to say yes. But you also have the power to present your case so that people will buy into your dream and into your vision. And when you are appealing to people to buy into your vision and into your dream, you cannot take them for granted unless they are your slaves. But if they are individuals with power of their will to make decision to say yes or no, they would demand some kind of autonomy, or some kind of monopoly, some kind of authority. So how do you break into that authority and get them to be part of what you're doing? It's so much. Sometimes you just have to go and negotiate with the enemy so that you can stop the disaster that is coming, just because of the goals. And so when you don't know that learning, negotiation, selling, convincing people, when you don't know, you will blame people and say that people don't like you for nothing. And sometimes it's not that they don't like you, it's just that you don't know how to convince them. It's just that you don't know how to talk to them to be on your side. Just that you have no clue that is between you and you realizing your goals. So when you're not prepared, or when you're not skilled in your ability to negotiate, to sell, you become emotional, you become erratic, you become angry, because people don't seem to get on the same page with you. It's not because the people are stubborn, it's because you have not learned how to negotiate. It's because you have not learned how to convince people, how to communicate with people, how to bargain, how to move your position to convince somebody to be part on that which you want to do. And that is what life is about. So whatever goal that you set for yourself, business is full of negotiation, it's full of selling things, full of convincing people every day. Every day. Every day. You want your manager to come and work over the weekend and they have to go somewhere. You cannot just shout on them. You would have to just present a case that will convince them to be part of the vision. The best of people is not when they work out of fear. The best of people is when they work, when they've been convinced to work out of inspiration, out of them making contribution, when they work out of their free will. When people contribute to anything out of their free will, that is the best form, because that way you don't even have to be there all the time for them to give their best. But you cannot do that just by creating fear. You only do that when you're able to sell the ideas to them, you're able to convince them, you're able to communicate well with them, you're able to share the vision with them, you're able to tell them to be on the same. It's not only just going to benefit you, it's going to benefit them as well. Those are the things that you learn to do if you're going to sell that product. You have a product that you want people, you have a fantastic product. Maybe you have developed a music, you have written a book, you have developed maybe a shoe, a bag, whatever that you have done. If you're going to get people to buy, you would have to know how to sell, negotiate, convince people to buy into that. And that is not just something that comes naturally. It's something that we should have been taught in the house, and we should have been taught in school, and the culture should have told us. But they send us to go and learn engineering, learn doctor, learn lawyer, learn all those things. But they do not teach us how to negotiate and convince people to be part of the dream, to be part of the goal. Because no one can achieve anything alone. Every point, every stage, every height, everywhere, somebody would have to make a decision to favor you or against you. And it's not so much about whoever is making the decision against you. It's so much your ability to convince them to make the decision for you. So when people are weak in these things, they become hysterical, they become emotional, they become, angry, they cry because they don't know the negotiation processes, they don't know the selling processes, they don't know the processes in convincing people to be part of the vision. Sometimes your anger is so high, but when you think of the dream, when you think of the investment that you have done for this business to work, for this institution to work, you have to just, swallow that pride and convince somebody to be part of it, even though you know that person should know better to be part of it, but they still wait for you to convince them, to inspire them. And so it's a skill that you have to know. You have to know how the human being behaves, how human beings take decisions, how emotional people can be, the things that people continuously think about. The fact that they even say that they don't want to be part does not mean they don't want to be part. Are you able to present your position such that they will be part with you? Most often when you see people very well convincing and negotiating is when they want to date a girl, or when they want to take a girlfriend, or when they want a boyfriend. That way they can pester, they can go consistently even if they tell them no, because they think that the girl should agree to them. But you also carry that even when you are married to that person, or when that person comes to work with you. It's constant negotiation. It's not that they are just with you so that's it. No, you would have to present the idea and tell them why this must be done and why this must be done urgently. So don't just carry emotions and just contain your own ideas as to why people are bad, as to why people don't want to be part of your dream. It's because maybe you are just weak in skill, in terms of selling, in terms of negotiation, in terms of convincing people, in terms of being able to communicate well and bargain your position. And that, for me, is a major skill, because the money that you will need to do the project, the supplier that you will need to extend that credit line to you, the banker that you will need to support you, that worker somewhere who has a technical skill that you will need him to stop that work and come and join you, that politician that you think would have to help you to get some regulation signed. It's all negotiation everywhere. Life is about negotiation. Life is about selling your ideas. Life is about selling your position. Life is about that. And you just have to negotiate, convince, fight forward, because there's a hindrance. And so you don't just present the case anyhow. It's a process, it's a skill, it's science, it's something that we have to study. There's negotiation skill, there's selling skill, there's ability to convince people. You can get into litigation with somebody and they may threaten you to go to court. And sometimes it will be better for you to go and sit down with them and negotiate, so that you don't go to court to go and waste a lot of time and a lot of money. It's all convincing, it's all talking. But when your emotions are very high, when you're angry, it means that you don't know how to convince people, how to sell your ideas to people. And it is a skill. Between you and the goals, you will learn how to sell your ideas, how to sell your product, how to sell your concept, how to sell your personality, because people are making decisions all the time. And it's all based on the confidence that they have in the things that you have told them. So entrepreneurship is about convincing people, it's about negotiating the ideas, it's about selling your product, it's about presenting your personality, it's about you getting people on board to buy, from you. How are you able to position well to sell to people, to convince people to be on board with you? Every one of us is in some kind of negotiation all the time. You are selling something, whether you are directly involved in selling something or not. The preacher is selling his ideas of the gospel to you all the time. That he's able to build his church. He's selling his idea. That's why people will be able to give him offering. His ideas. You are telling people every time to become part of something which will benefit you and benefit them. The businessman is the same thing. The politician is always selling his ideas. He's telling you that if you vote for him, he comes, he will do this, 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 this. If he refuses to sell his idea, he will not win. He will not win. So all of us are into some kind of selling. Your child is always talking to you about why you should pay that money for him, and why you should give him that money to go and buy that game or buy that book or buy that or go for that program. They are always convincing you. They may not be doing it consciously, but it's a skill that they're developing. But when the adults grow, they forget that is a skill. When the adult, that is a skill that they will need for them to realize their dream. So sometimes it's not that things are tough. Sometimes it's just that we don't know how to negotiate. Sometimes it's just that we don't know how to sell. When you see somebody always trying to convince people, trying to overpromise people, and they go to sleep, is because they don't know how to go through these stages to convince people to make sure that things are done well for the benefit of them and for the benefit of the goal. So every one of us, no matter what profession you have, you are always convincing somebody, whether you are even talking or not. Your dressing is convincing somebody. Your gestures are convincing somebody. Your philosophies are convincing somebody. You just have to do it consciously and do it with a plan, constructively, because we are always in the act of convincing somebody. Always. And we are only going to go the next stage of our life. You're only going to become better, become more successful, because we know how to sell our ideas to people, our product, our services. We know how to promote ourselves. Other than that, we will not be successful unless you're not interested in selling anything, unless you're not interested in achieving goals. If you're interested in achieving any goal at all, you would have to learn how to promote your ideas, how to promote your concept, how to get people on board. So they teach us a lot in school, in the family, about every other thing except the ability to sell the product, the ability to convince people, the ability to get people on board to become part of the dream. And that is a decider, actually. So study how to present your ideas, study how to negotiate, study how to present yourself, because that is what life is about. If you are not able to present your ideas, convince people, your ideas will die with you, because every one of us is into something that has to get people to be on board for it to become successful. You cannot do everything by yourself. It's not true. You always have to get people to be part of your dream, to be part of the company, to be part of the project. And they will not just come because you put a rope around them or even create fear in them. No. You do that by your ability to sell the ideas to them, your ability to negotiate with them, bargain with them, convince them, communicate with them. And the more skilled you are in this, the more successful you become. No matter the situation that you are in, no matter how bad any situation is, your business may have problems, your business may be having, debt, you may even be a personal issues, you have personal debt, personal problems. They don't matter. If you can look at the people that are in the chain, and you can go and negotiate and sell the hope that the things that you're going to do to correct the situation, if you can do that convincingly, you can see that the problem is not as bizarre as you think they are. Most times people think that their situation is so complex and so bad because they don't know how to talk their way out, to sell their ideas, to convince people, to get to the boss who makes that decision to say that, listen, I have a bad situation, but I am credible. I can do this, so please get me this kind of hours. You are going to negotiate for a credit, a bad dream that is not working, or a bad business, a bad debt, a bad loan. Go back to the people and tell them what you think should be done. Sometimes they may be angry with you, sometimes they may insult you, sometimes they may it doesn't matter. If you are clean and you are honest, have a plan, go and negotiate. If you go the first one, they don't agree, go the second one. If you go the second one, they don't agree, go the third one. until, because you're becoming better. And with the act of you being able to negotiate, convince people, communicate, bargain, you'll be able to reduce a lot of things. Sometimes when it's a bad situation, you just have to present it as it is and present what you can offer. So negotiation is seriously between you and getting to your goals. Your dream of getting to that position, your dream of even building a house, marrying, everything, every aspect of life is about negotiation, convincing, communicating with people. And so we must as well learn those things well and learn them as tools that we need to have to get to our goals. Life is always like that. So we are always, all of us are in always constant communication, constant convincing of people, constant negotiation. If we don't do it well, we will not be successful with our dreams. We will not be successful with our ability to get to the dreams that we want to have. So it's not just about you having a fantastic dreams. No, it's also about you being able to convince people and knowing that it will not just be you to achieve your goals. People are in the chain, and your ability to get to them convincingly will decide whether you get to your goals or you will not get to your goals. So it's not so much. Sometimes you can get people to do anything that you want them to do, to benefit them and to benefit you, if you have a good plan. If you have a very good plan, you will be able to get a lot of people to be on board with you. And so I'm talking about your ability to negotiate. Learn how to negotiate, learn how to sell. And you will not get to your dreams if you don't learn how to sell, learn how to convince people, learn how to bargain, learn how to communicate, because there are a lot of things that are linked to you getting to your goals. A lot of people are linked to it, and it's not like you can just bulldoze your way through. It's not like you can just say anything and they come on board. No, not even your children, not even your wife. Sometimes there's a lot of fight in the house because people are not skilled in negotiation, in selling the ideas, in convincing the other partner that this is the way that we are going, and if you do this, we will get there. If you don't do this, we will not get there. So sometimes it's not that your workers are stubborn. Sometimes it's just that we are not able to present the ideas well to them. So it's negotiation, it's selling, and those are all processes. There are things that people know about negotiation, about selling. What I've tried to do is to let you know that these things exist. They are tools that you can develop to get to your goals. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in business, these things you have got to learn them and learn them well. You cannot just cross over them. You cannot just overlook them and think that you'll succeed. No, you all have to. No matter how fantastic your idea is, somebody would have to see it. Somebody would have to make a decision to buy it. And that process for us to take that product and get to that customer and convince them to buy is what I call that critical tool that you need to develop to get the customers. No matter how fantastic your business is, no matter how fantastic your product is, somebody would have to make decision to buy the product from you. And how well are you equipped to sell those to their customer? How well are you equipped in training your team to be able to negotiate on behalf of the business, to be able to negotiate on behalf of the company, and to get the company growing? Because without these skills, there's no growth. There's no success until we're able to convince, until we're able to sell our ideas, until we're able to communicate our goals. There's no success. We are not going to succeed in anything that we are doing until we are communicating well with the rest of the world. Because your vision is only in your mind. What you have in mind is only in your mind. You just have to let it out, and you let them out with craft, with skill, with precision, with excellence, with a system, with a structure. So if you don't do this convincingly and technically and structurally, we will not be succeeding. So if you have a product that you'll be so much happy to have come out with a product. That's the first stage. The next stage is, how do you get as many people to get to know this product? And that is going to call for you to negotiate, to sell, to convince people, to communicate, to bargain, every other thing in between, so that your customers will get to know this product. And so my name is Kwabena. Thank you very much for watching. So learn how to sell, learn how to negotiate, learn how to convince people to be part of your dreams. And don't get angry. Don't get angry when people disagree with you. Don't get angry when people don't see your points. You just have to go and get better at your skill. You know, don't get angry. When people get angry in some of these things, it means that we are weak. We don't know it. You know, but the more you become professional, the more you learn, the more you get to know, you understand all the processes that you have to go through to get people to be on the same page with you and to buy your product, buy your service, to get your children to be on the same page with you, to get your wife to be on the same page with you, to get your children to be on the same page with you. It's called, they call for negotiation skills, they call for selling skills, they call for the ability to convince people. You know, so those are skills. Yes, as somebody has a skill to do surgery, somebody has a skill to talk in the law court, somebody has a skill to build a house, somebody has a skill to build computers. This is also a skill. There's a skill that you have to promote the ideas, to promote the product, to promote your personality, and to promote the things that you're doing. You cannot leave those behind and think that you'll succeed. You would have to convince the bank to give you the money. You would have to convince your friend to get on board with you. You would have to convince the other person to take it easy with you because the situation is bad. These are all things that we go through. You would have to even convince yourself when things are not working to keep going. And they'll call for skill that we call negotiation skill, you know, your ability to sell, and that is critical to you achieving your goals. So don't cross that. Don't just overlook that. It's a skill. If you don't know it, you can't just say I'm shy. If you're shy, you're not going to succeed. You just have to go. They will tell you no, it doesn't matter. They will say don't come here again, it doesn't matter. They will say that they don't want to have anything with you, it doesn't matter. You just have to learn the process, because there will always be resistance. There will always be people who will hinder you from getting to your goals. What will get you over that is you being able to understand that this thing calls for higher negotiation skills, higher selling skills, higher ability to communicate well, to bargain well, to convince them well. And so, my name is Kwabena. Thank you very much for watching. Let's all go and learn how to negotiate. How going to, you know, the boyfriend, you just have to negotiate to be on the same page with you. It's a skill. If you're just emotional and crying and angry, it shows that you don't have that skill yet. And all of us, they happen to us. Sometimes you just get angry, you get cry because we have not sharpened. We have not developed that negotiation skill, that convincing skill, that technical skill that you need to get people to be on board with you to achieve that goal that you have set for yourself and even for others. So thank you very much. If you're going to be one of the best at what you do, you just have to know how to sell your ideas, convince people to be on board with you. You just have to know how to negotiate your way through, and that's part of life. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you.